graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
You got the touch. You got the power. Yeah.
Attention humans. I am Optimus Prime. You're listening to Two Strangers, One Podcast. Go to iTunes now and subscribe. For Android users, we are available on the Stitcher app for Google.
Shut the fuck up, go by.
You're listening to Two Strangers, One Podcast. Now, here's Chris.
Well, hello and welcome to Two Strangers, One Podcast. I'm Chris, and today we have a great interview for you. It's a gentleman that I guess proves that if you harass someone enough on the internet, they're going to come out and do your show. No, don't harass people on the internet. A couple of months ago, I had his work partner on, George Christic. This gentleman has been involved in plenty of cool projects. You know, right now he's done a Captain Crunch kind of a viral video for YouTube. He's done Issues, which is available on crackle.com. It's about a therapist talking to superheroes, but the therapist is live action while the superheroes are animated. And of course, my favorite show, and I'm never going to let it go, I love it with all my heart and soul, Megas XLR, which was on Cartoon Network about 2004. So ladies and gentlemen, and I'd like introduce to you Mr. Jody Schaeffer.
Hey, how's it going? What's going on, Chris? How you doing?
Everything's good. We had George on a couple of months ago, and I
caught that one.
And I just, ever since then, I'm like, oh my God, and he was like, if you want to call it our first like celebrity interview, I've interviewed friends for their projects and punk bands and stuff like that. Our interaction on the internet, I am such a Megas XLR fanboy. I'm keeping the dream alive.
Yeah.
I was hoping that, what was that? I'm sorry.
Oh, he let me know when you was going to be on. So yeah, I tuned in. I got that.
So right now, are you freelance? Are you working for Titmouse? Are you what exactly is?
I'm currently back at Titmouse. Oddly enough, we are working on a 2D version of the Turbo DreamWorks cartoon. So actually, I will say it's actually coming out really funny. I mean, because Titmouse is just coming down off of Motor City. Mm-hmm. Which was Chris P's original thing that he pitched originally back in 1999, and it finally got made into a show in 2010. So, and that was all about race cars, and they're like, well, we want to make this franchise about racing snails, and, well, one studio has shown that it really knows how to depict, the racing motif, and that'd be Titmouse. So that's what we're on. So I'm just coming down off Captain Crunch, and then now I'm back on Turbo, and yeah, so there we go.
So basically, because I'm just curious, how do the Captain Crunch people contact you? Do you contact Captain Crunch? Like, we have an idea. Where does something like that come from?
That one was a buddy of mine works over at Funny or Die, and Quaker asked them, they wanted to try and change up make him a little crazier than he's been. And my friend usually does live action. Like, well, I obviously need to do a cartoon, so let me call a buddy of mine who tends to do that Adult Swim stuff that you guys seem to want, and that's how they call me.
Okay.
So yeah,
and pretty much anybody who watches Adult Swim knows the Titmouse logo is the chirp, and on top of Megas XLR, I am just a diehard Metalocalypse fan, and I was actually surprised that you worked on that also.
Yeah, I'm actually also for most of the end of the little Titmouse logo with the chirp. I'm actually the chirp.
Oh wow!
So, yeah.
So you'll forever live on.
Animated on.
You'll forever live on, because that chirp is just so iconic,
Yeah, well, until they get bored and decide to add other, I know the Venture Brothers have been throwing in various ones, and we actually for a little bit there we were playing with the idea of having a different ending, not just have the chirp. Like, that was just one of the ideas we were gonna have. Another idea was the Titmouse would just explode, or sometimes the Titmouse's head would be replaced by whoever the main character was in the previous cartoon, and he would do the chirp, which is one of the reasons they did that in the Venture Brothers. So it wasn't originally supposed to be so specific and iconic. It was going to be a much more inclusive thing. But then as you get into production, you're like, oh, shit, we don't really have time to do all this. Well, this is good. Yeah, we'll go with this. So, yeah.
So because that reminds me of, I think it was like MGM a long time ago, because the original MGM logo is the lion. And if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
I think they had a TV studio, and instead of the lion, it was the whole grand logo except with the kitten, and it was like meow.
Oh, that was MTM. That's Mary Tyler Moore, but she did her own little. She had her own production company, and that was her. That was hers. So yeah, absolutely.
So,
Look it up. It's MTM is actually that one, and it was adorable. So
and it's,
yeah, cool.
you're right up there with Sit Ubu Sit and
Right?
all those iconic.
Awesome.
That's a bad hat, Harry.
That's true. It did work out nicely for me there, so that was cool. It is something to enjoy.
Megas XLR, for the three people that listen to the show that don't know what it is, it's a cartoon about a robot from the future.
You mean the three people that know what it is?
Oh, well, I think I've spoke about it so much that if people haven't gone already and checked it out online. For the few people that don't know what it is, the robot comes from the future, accidentally, it ends up in a garbage dump. Basically, this big fat loudmouth gamer slacker type guy finds the robot and decides to modify the robot. He adds flames, he adds his own modifications, and without knowing exactly what the hell he's doing, and the robot gets destroyed, and he hooks up his hot rod to the head of the robot, which is an awesome concept. That being said, the theme of the show says chicks dig giant robots, with giant robots now back on the map in the public conscience with Pacific Rim. What are your thoughts on, because I loved Megas XLR, and of course there's tons of fan videos out there where people have taken like the theme of Megas XLR and added it to footage from Pacific Rim. When you take on a project like that, that sort of makes you now like an official authority on giant robot movies and the giant robot genre.
Yeah, we're hipster giant robots. It's true. We were giant robots before it was cool.
10 years before Guillermo
right?
got his hands on it. So
you probably never heard of it.
What'd you think of the movie?
It was good. I hate to say I was the odd man out that I was not that crazy about, just because I feel like, okay, here's for my money. Everybody I went with absolutely loved it, and I guess me being a giant robot, I'm so much more, I guess, passionate about giant robots anyway, that it's got to be a specific style, or I'm just going to be a little disappointed. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, it was just the dialogue was just, if I could have listened to my iPod while that movie was going on, it would have been the best movie ever. How's that?
It was definitely hokey.
But instead, I had to listen to this relatively uninteresting main character talking, narrating everything that's going on as it was going on. So that was the disappointing part. But yeah, like I said, it was the fighting was awesome, and I did get a kick out of that. Anytime I just got to focus on the monsters, or the robots punching sea monsters, I was having a great time. So there we go.
And ships being used as baseball bats, giant battleships, or oil tankers, being swung like a baseball bat.
Absolutely.
I think we were all kind of waiting for that moment.
That was part of, for me, especially a giant robot show. I was saying, the only two people that understood who, the kind of movie they were in for my taste were Charlie Day and what's his name? Beauty and the Beast guy.
Oh my goodness.
Why am I drawing?
Yeah, the
Black
Hellboy, Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on his name. Also,
Yeah.
Let me. It's on the tip of my tongue. I'm in front of the computer right now.
Yeah.
Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman. Thank you. Yeah, I was gonna say those guys. Because there was just enough humor in it for that's what it is for me. When I watch Giant Robot, it's a robot punching a monster. Let me enjoy the ride. Don't make it so overblown, or you're not doing King Lear. I guess just have some fun with it, guys. So, and they were. I think everybody else kind of thought they had to play it really straight, and were trying to make it hardcore. And it's like, no, guys, just fucking enjoy yourselves. You'll have you get to drive the giant robot, and you get to punch the monster. That's pretty fucking cool. So yeah, there you go. So,
well, it's because I can't help but draw a little bit of a parallel because, and it's not really a spoiler. When the pilots enter the head isn't really part of the robot when they first go in, and then there's this whole launching sequence, and the head finally, And for some reason, that just really does remind me back of Megas XLR, where the head is sort of like, it comes on, it comes off, because, you know, in the cartoon, in Megas, the hot rod comes off. There's episodes where the hot rod's just driving by itself.
We never really dealt with it, but there's really nothing keeping it there. It's just kind of, it's just, you know, we were going to have it, so it is just, and you see a couple points, no, it isn't really connected. It's just kind of on top. But, yeah, I don't know.
It's such an advanced Glorf technology that you can control it from the...
It's a cartoon. It's, you know, it's like, just who cares? That was what, in fact, that's one of the things I was talking about with Megas. Megas was actually, for me, it was a reaction to, like, Evangelion, which we do love, and, you know, a lot of the giant robot shows, which were, you know, which had these really miserable, you know, guys just piloting the robots and lamenting the fact that they had this responsibility, and we were like, literally everybody we know, not with no exceptions, would be absolutely thrilled to get to drive the giant robot, you know, and they're absolutely champing at the bits, like, oh, and it's so what that you're defending humanity from this horrible alien? I'm driving a giant freaking robot, gimme, you know? So that was...
What old lady do I have to push down a flight of stairs?
Exactly. It's like, give me my goddamn giant robot. I'm, you know, it's like, yeah. So yeah, that was the take that we had. So.
Are you? Because I'm so taken back by like the Flash animation. What would you say your primary animating is? Is it Flash or?
Oh yeah, no, far and away. Currently, Flash is the program to be used. There's other ones out there now like Toon Boom, and the market is changing. But right now, Flash is just the most accessible. It's the simplest. It's got an easy tree to memorize. So it's just easy to get in and start animating. It's easy to get Flash, and it's easy to start animating with Flash. I mean, honestly, if we'd had Flash back when we were making, we were one of the last shows to be on paper back at Cartoon Network. We were there during the transition, and I wish we had just been like literally maybe 2 years later, because it would have been a game changer. It's so much easier to manage your assets. And it's easier to make a cool. You can do a lot more animation in how you don't have to ship. Generally speaking, you can keep it in the studio, and it just helps you. I mean, Flash. Don't get me wrong, Flash has its issues, and it has a lot of issues, but it does absolutely help you get a better overall product.
When it comes to quote unquote traditional animation, the situation back like when you were doing Megas XLR was were there like key scenes animated, and then you would send it overseas? Is that how it worked?
We would just design the shots and then board them out and then ship them overseas with with our timing sheets and just kind of hope for the best. I hate to say it, but that's a lot of it, especially with the schedule that you have. It's and ours was a really detailed kind of action intensive show. So that's the kind of stuff really benefits from a lot of personal oversight. You just can't get that when you're shipping overseas, especially then there's a language barrier.
Yeah, there's a culture barrier because there was a lot of parody and satire. Even though it is a giant robot smashing Fort Knox. I mean, there was a lot of stuff meant to be caught in the background. And if someone, it's kind of hard to parody something if you don't understand the cultural impact. It's hard to make fun of a super slushy if you don't know what 7-Eleven is.
It's true, but I think for a lot of folks there, I mean, in other countries, though, I think, honestly, I've discovered Megas is still pretty popular in a lot of other countries. Partially to them, it's, oh, hey, the big fat stupid American has a giant robot now instead of a Japanese guy, and that was also part of our shit. It's like because everything Coop loves is stuff we love, so we're like, okay, well, I guess then the giant robot, one of us being a giant robot, would be kind of an idiot. So here we go. That was the whole premise of giving a giant robot to the last guy that should have one.
Now, when on the projects that are worked on now with the Flash, because I picture like back in the day when with the quote unquote traditional animation, instantly I think of like 40, 50 people in a room, sweatshop conditions. For the I hate to put it like that, but that's what pops into my head. How does things get done today with Flash? Is it individual?
Back in the day, it was dozens of people hunched over like animation discs with their papers, and drawing pictures. And these days, it's dozens of people in an office, hunched over their Cintiqs animating in Flash. So I mean, honestly, it's a lot like there's no paper floating around anymore, and it's a lot cleaner. The process is a lot smoother.
And it's instant. You like, is it like an email kind of situation or inner office?
Usually there's a server, and everybody just submits drawings to, like you just put your work up on the server, and then we go, and then the director looks down the work for the day, and and makes and calls his comments out as the shot is being animated, and like I said, that makes for a much better end product.
And you have a lot more control. Yeah. You have a lot more, instant.
Yes, it's much faster than than drawing is some character, sending the board, and maybe even the layout overseas, having them animate it, and then it comes back. You got to ship the paperwork overseas. Wait for them to animate it, ship it back, take a look, and then judge. Based on that. That takes weeks. That takes work. Nowadays, you do it in house on a server, and you'll get shots done in days. So.
That's awesome. And I kind of hit George with this kind of question. I'm just curious because I'm a creative person. How does it go from guys talking about it to actual finished product? Could you just walk us through it? Pitching and then the actual animating, and I'm curious myself because I just fascinated by.
I'll just cut through the quick. Like there's a long period beforehand where you're assembling the idea, where you're coming up with what you want to do, and the whole thing started when George and I were sitting around at my place, and I told him, I was like, we were playing video games or whatever, and I was like, I had thought about what I wanted to see in a cartoon. It boiled it down to my most basic, the demographic that we were talking about, because, there's a couple of stupid kids playing video games. I was like, I want to see a big fat idiot driving a giant robot. And he was like, that's great. We should develop that. And, we basically went from there. So, came up with the idea of, the Glorf and George came up with the alien invasion. And Chris P is the one that actually thought, make the robot a car, a car head. And, and then once you have the idea assembled, and then you have to come up with, say, a pitch packet. You need to assemble the idea in such a way that a producer, any studio executive you present it to is going to be able to get it really quickly. Mm-hmm. So you give them a page describing the world that you're setting it in. You give your main characters each a page, and if you have any secondary characters, you put them all on one page. And then you have a page for some episode ideas, because any executive is going to need to know that you can carry this idea for more than just a couple of episodes. They're going to want to know that you can give them you give them like 6 seasons if they want, because really, I mean, that's something not to forget either, is these studio executives are actually not your enemy. They do want you to give them a good show, and they're hoping you're going to be, that's why they're taking the meeting with you. They're hoping you're going to be the guy or the gal that gives them their next hit series. So they definitely they want to work with you, and if they have input, generally speaking, it's because they think your show might be something that they could present and they could pass along. Mm-hmm. And they're just telling you what they would need to see to help sell it to the people they have to sell it to.
Oh, like advertisers.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. And then you guys...
Good, because I thought it was just gibberish.
No, it totally makes sense. Like I said, I'm kind of like flat out, I blatantly have said a million times, I'm just a fanboy, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah. It is...
Well, so are we. I mean, dude, this 90% of the industry is fanboys. I mean, and I'm not kidding when I say, like, the American entertainment industry is actually some of the hardest working and comparatively underpaid groups out there. Like, we work the craziest hours compared to, the European or the Asian studios, and we don't have very good deals, frankly, as far as our stuff is concerned. And it's because we're all doing it because we fucking love it. Mm-hmm. So when you when you denigrate yourself, like, oh, I'm a fanboy. But no, the fan guys and gals are the ones driving the industry. Like, they're the heart of it. Mm-hmm. Even at its, and I mean, it's like, look at Pacific Rim. Guillermo del Toro is a huge giant robot fanboy. You can tell. Like, that was one of the reasons I hated myself for not really liking that movie, because you could see there was a love in there that you don't get in a Michael Bay film. How's that? Like as much as I love the Transformers, and I did enjoy Transformers, but it just didn't have, it's just done more cynically, and you can see it, Like Transformers to me felt like it was written by some cokehead, whereas, Whereas Pacific Rim, there was definitely just a reverence for the medium, which I did think was cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you
In the
have
middle of that fucking dialogue.
when you have an Autobot saying "What's cracking, bitches," it's just really forced. Or when you have Optimus Prime in the original voice of Peter Cullen saying "My bad," it's like that uncle that's trying to be hip by using like what he thinks is the cool terminology. It just makes him look embarrassed.
They did do a couple of good things. Certainly, yeah, I did. I tell you, I didn't even watch the third one, but they did do a good thing in the first movie when they had him say freedom is the right of all sentient beings. Because if you remember, that was his little motto on the back of his original box.
Yes.
And I was so happy that they did. Like I said, so like, okay, he knew enough of it. There's somebody in there knew enough of the franchise that again, we fanboys were going to want to see that stuff, and they threw it in there. So that made me happy.
And I believe there was like an online petition for him to say, and it was just the random phrases where there was like people raised a bunch of signatures online for him to say "do a barrel roll" from Star Fox Nintendo.
Jesus.
That's just one of those internet things that got like big for like a minute. And then, I mean, I'm glad he didn't say it, because I was like, wow, that would have been a lot of pressure from the internet community for something that's not worth it,
Yeah, no, it's again, well, that's the other thing about fanboys. I mean, we love it, but we're not always right. So, yeah.
With we just had a week ago the madness of Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts? I mean, obviously, there was just teasers. Do you have any thoughts on the new Godzilla movie? Because now that, this year's Pacific Rim, Godzilla is slated for next year.
Godzilla's his own. Like, I hate to say, like, I will always love a Godzilla movie. Except there's the Matthew Broderick going, that had its own issues. But I mean, okay, the actual original, the Japanese Godzilla, they're I could sit down and happily watch any of them because they've never had any. They know exactly what they are, and they're not trying to be anything else. So that's it's just they're just good, silly fun, and we get giant horrible monsters wrecking shit, and that's what I like to see.
When I was having my interview with George, he was saying that you included basically you're part of what they call a quote-unquote showrunner role-playing game sessions. Like he said, there was guys from Green Lantern and believe, I don't know if it was Young Justice.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. It wasn't even a show. Like, it's just, again, there were a bunch of nerdy fanboys all getting together and like, oh wait, we all know the rules for first edition by heart. So, and then I sat in on a couple of those, and then was hip deep in Captain Crunch, which was all the way down in West LA. So that was annoying, but so I couldn't go. But no, I'm sorry, where were we going with that?
Well, no, I mean, it just back in the day where they called like a super summit for the fans of this kind of genre, superheroes, giant robots, action. Nowadays, the kids, I mean, I know there's people who go, oh, kids today don't have any good programming, and I think the opposite. I think, there's a certain influence out there right now with like the Disney XD and basically like all the newer like superhero shows where they're a little bit hipper. They are winking to the audience. Superhero Squad, you think it would be geared towards 7-year-olds, but I'm 36 and I'm enjoying the hell out of it.
Oh yeah, or watch Adventure Time. I mean, there's a lot of jokes that are absolutely not aimed at kids. I mean, all the best animation has cross-generational appeal in some fashion. So yeah, like people would say there's nothing good on. I dispute that completely. I say we're darn near in a golden age here because it's so easy to make. Like you can go on. There's so many ways to get good cartoons now. Like like online or on cable or in the movies, and it's so easy. Well, like I said, somebody can go pick up Flash and make their own cartoons and distribute them to an audience completely on their own. That's never happened before. That's really, really fucking awesome. That's how you get, a lot of these really wacky, crazy, creative types coming in there. They're like, my buddy, what do you call it? Gary Dooley just sold a show to Nickelodeon called Breadwinners. And I mean, that's basically what he would do with this. He loved cartoons, so he'd just sit there in his spare with Flash and his friends, and then they get together, and then they'd make an idea and show it around, and then, oh, hey, look, that's somebody, now he sold it to a network. And so, yeah, anyone that tells you there are no good cartoons out there anymore, you tell them Jody says shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I hate when, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, people of my generation, you know, of course, you know, we had, you know, of course they were 30-minute commercials for toys, but that didn't mean that they were, you know, like Transformers. I loved Transformers. I mean, when I was, you know,
I love Transformers so hard. I was the kid in high school still liking Transformers when it was way not cool to do that. So
yeah, I was 9 going to see the Transformers movie, and of course, you know, well, I shouldn't have to say spoiler alert for a movie that's over 20 years old or 30 years old or almost 30 years old. But, you know, when Optimus Prime dies, you know, I cried. You know, at 9 years old, that had the impact to me of, like, you know, a family member. You know, between my dad, Hulk Hogan, and Optimus Prime, you know, those are like the three, you know, influences on my life, like, you know, like what to strive to be. And then when Optimus Prime died, like, it was such an impact. And, you know, yeah, some people can say, okay, yeah, it's a commercial. No, I think it was beyond that. Maybe it's because of my age, but, you know, I lived in that world. I wasn't cynical to say, oh, it's just a commercial. I enjoyed it for what it was. And I don't know, there was a certain, you know, love there.
So, I mean, Optimus Prime is my favorite robot, if that tells you anything. Like flat period. Like, I've always just, yeah. You know, because he's always, like, his character, you know, I can't even, like, he's the one example for me where that sort of just completely upright, moral, you know, like, guy, where they can get away with it, because, you know, really, I don't know, it's hard to describe. I mean, like, he's almost Hank Hill, you know, he's just, he's almost, he just, he's almost stuffy, but hey.
There's a little bit of John Wayne in his voice. There's a little John Wayne.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, my generation is a little too young to, like, understand what's going on. Like, just
Peter Cullen, you know, like, he threw so much personality into it originally. That was one of the reasons why that's one of the reasons I loved Optimus Prime so much. That was one of the reasons I was so happy in the original Michael Bay movie that they got him back, because he just brought so much to it. In
the video game, okay, in the movie they had, I forgot his name, the guy who played Agent Smith in the Matrix movies. He was Megatron. He was the voice of Megatron. Yeah. But then in the actual Transformers video game, or at least for the first movie, they got Frank Welker to do the voice of Megatron. And, like, I don't understand how the people from the video game were on board, you know, for the major blockbuster. You can't bring back, Frank Welker. And then Frank Welker did voices on the other 2 movies.
I mean, we worked with, we had them on this couple of robot voices on Megas, you know. They're like, they weren't hard to get. They were a lot of fun. Like, we got them in the booth together, and it was actually really fun to do, like, playing around with different voices with Peter Cullen specifically. And he just would start, like, dropping Venger impersonations, you know, just in the middle of the record, just to do it, you know. And we were, you know, again, being some fanboys, just immediately, you know, our ovaries started exploding, because we had the guy voicing Venger as, you know, in Optimus Prime, doing these voices for us. And that was just amazing. So, yeah, again, when I say fanboys around the industry week, that's what happens.
Yeah, I would just be like, you know, please, I need you to do, like, the outgoing message on my cell phone, you know. You've reached Chris's cell phone, you know.
Yeah, that was, well, I mean, like, a couple of, I can't remember who this, but some of them would actually, that was a good story. Speaking of voice, actually, would do that. Tommy Blocka on Metalocalypse, you know, does, like, Toki and Murderface and Roxo. Mm-hmm. And a couple of a buddy of mine had him leave a message on himself as Roxo, and that was, on the one hand, it was hilarious, but on the other hand, he didn't get many messages after that, because nobody wanted to you know, because Roxo was so crazy and annoying that they, you know, you just kind of scared them off. So.
Now, forgive me if I'm wrong. Are you credited with being the creator of Roxo, or is that?
No, not at all.
Okay. I don't know. For some reason, I came across that online. I'm sorry.
No. Roxo was all Tommy, and like, they wrote him in, and then Tommy Blocka was because usually what they would do, what Brandon and Tommy would do on Metalocalypse, would just bounce around, like, try different voices, and then just the one that quote unquote felt right was the one they were going to go with. That's how, you know, that's how Brendan became Nathan and Squizgar and Pickles. That's how Tommy became Toki and Murderface. And what happened was, when they wrote the character Roxo, Tommy was like, hold on.
Enhancing the experience for all recreational smokers. Click and Hit is a one-handed portable vaporizer.
And he went
this
in
smoking
and just,
pipe has a compact four-stage design, complete with a built-in
and they were like,
chain refillable torch lighter. The large burn pepper holds your stash of vanilla herb or pipe tobacco.
Didn't even need to go back and forth. They just knew.
When you are done, put it back in your pocket for later.
Had the character
Smoke anytime with the touch of a button. No more carrying around grinders and tins. pipe, rolling papers, and even your lighter at home. The Click and Hit cordless vaporizer is no bigger than a normal cigar, making it the world's smallest and most discreet vaporizer. It's perfect for use in small places or shared rooms. It's efficient, getting 5 to 8 draws from your packed chamber. It's affordable at just $19.95 each. Buy 3 and the shipping is free. Buy 4 and you get the 5th one free. Visit www.click-hit.com. That's clickandhit.com. And now for listeners of Two Strangers One Podcast, you can use promo code STRANGERS and receive 10% off your purchase at clickandhit.com. That's promo code STRANGERS for 10% off your purchase.
This episode of Two Strangers One Podcast is brought to you by Comics Etc. 1115 East Main and North Goodman at the Hungerford Building, door number 8. Find out more information at comicsetc.biz or like them on Facebook at facebook.com/comicsetc1.
Speaking of voice acting on Metalocalypse, you got James Hetfield and Kirk Hammett from Metallica to do voices on the pilot episode.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Metalocalypse, those guys freaking love heavy metal, so it was, I know they got deals with the various musical instruments, or the speakers, and it was a guitar. I can't remember right now.
I believe it was Gibson.
It's been so many years.
I believe it was Gibson, but I could,
Yeah,
well,
and in the same way that we love Giant Robots, these guys loved heavy metal, and they wanted to make sure their show was steeped in it, and to do part of that, they felt like they had to at least extend their hands to some of the legends in the industry, and that's what they did, and it worked, and that's how they got into the show.
Yeah, well, I'm a diehard Metallica fan. I have, on top of being a diehard Megas XLR fan, I have 11 Metallica related tattoos on my body.
I have never forgiven Metallica since Napster.
Gotcha. Uh-huh. Well, that's true.
I used to be a Metallica fan, but it hurts too much.
Gotcha. And
in the same way I can't watch Star Wars anymore because the prequels are just make everything too painful. I can't listen to Metallica albums I used to love because there's a little part in the back of my head that refuses to let me enjoy it because of that. And I hate that part so much, but it's there. So, oh well.
Allow me to play devil's advocate for just a minute. I met Lars, I would say, in 2006. Of course, this was years after the Napster, and who knows, maybe after the Napster thing, he's still doing public relations and damage control. But we had waited for him. It was a show that they were playing in Manhattan. It was the Bowery Ballroom. At the time, the local radio station K-Rock, when it was actually still playing rock, had Metallica. It was a small venue, the Bowery Ballroom. Basically, there's one way in, one way out. I did everything in my power to try to get into that theater. I couldn't get in. I tried to bribe security guards. I at the time I was a correction officer. I flashed my shield at the security guards and Crazy Cabby. I don't know if you're familiar with him from Howard Stern show, because he was a DJ on the radio station. I did everything in my power to try to get into that show. Didn't happen. That being said, the show ended around 11. And of course, hardcore fans were standing outside because, like I said, there's one way in, one way out. And around 1 o'clock in the morning, the guys started coming out. And of course, there's town cars pulling up and taking them away. I do have to say, and I understand Lars Ulrich got a bum rap for the Napster thing, and rightfully so. But Lars stood there and spoke to every single person, individually. I showed him my tattoos. He was like, I can't believe, he goes, I wouldn't even get Metallica tattoos on my body. And that being said, he was very, very gracious. So just allow me to play devil's advocate for just a moment. Hopefully I can return some of that love to your heart for Metallica. I'm a diehard fan.
It's when it came down to, the industry, the executives or the fans, he flat out, stood with the fans. And I understand, their feelings that, he was like, they're taking money from us when, really what Napster was doing to my mind was they were just showing that the paradigm was changing and that there were other ways to, kind of how the market has evolved into, basically, despite Napster getting shut down. We're kind of there now, where people are bypassing industry, basically the industry and going and getting music directly from the artist, and that's kind of where it should be. And he was siding with the guys who were literally bottlenecking the product, and were charging through the roof for people to get access to the music that they wanted.
Gotcha.
So that's and I mean, I don't know, but Metallica, they just kind of felt like dupes to me in that whole thing, but willing dupes, and that's why I left such a bad taste in my mouth.
Gotcha.
So ultimately, what matters is the music. So if you don't get me wrong, if like I said, if you like it, great. Don't don't disregard them because of me. Just like I do recommend people go see Pacific Rim. Don't just because I didn't like doesn't mean I don't think people will. I don't think it's an enjoyable movie, and I don't think people shouldn't see it. In fact, I want more of that stuff out there, and I'm glad when people who genuinely love the stuff actually get the chance to do it. So
now with Pacific Rim on the public conscious and with Godzilla lined up next year, I'm hoping and I'm praying that, with giant robots on the public mind, your fight to get the rights back from Megas XLR, because if I understand it correctly, it's like in a limbo, it's like a legal limbo.
Less of a fight and more of a mystery at this point.
Because you guys are trying to get the rights back. We don't know who the hell
has the rights. Yeah, we're looking around, like I said, literally nobody knows who has them anymore. So we're like, like that's, we know it sometimes shows in Canada, and I know it, like in South America and Europe, I know it's actually been playing a lot and does pretty well, but it's hard to, we can make it kick ass these days. Again, if you saw Motor City, when you see Turbo when it comes out, we've got this quote unquote genre or style. Like we got a pretty good hang. We got the hang of it at this point. So if we could actually get our hands back on Megas, I think we do some amazing stuff with it. So we're still keeping hope alive. And again, it took Chris 10 years to get Motor City done in the first place. So, to just a little patience. And again, it's the fact that, known properties now are a commodity for people to have just simply because they already come with public recognition. I think it's definitely possible that someday you might be seeing some more adventures with Coop and the gang.
For people who don't, you say Chris, you mean Chris Pernosky?
Yeah.
What is he? Was he the president of Titmouse, or I don't know what? I guess he.
Yeah, he's. I don't know his official title, but he's basically Mr. Titmouse. He and his wife Shannon, and then they have their partners Juno John Lee and Antonio Canobio.
That being said, unfortunately, Motor City, like Megas XLR, was canceled before its prime, or you guys it was an excellent.
Yeah, standard operating procedure, pretty good show. It doesn't have the support of the network, so it fizzled out. But anyway, yeah.
But I mean, and like you were saying, if I understand it correctly, you guys were mixing flash animation with computer animation, especially in the action scenes, and beautifully rendered shows, and like Megas XLR, like Metalocalypse, and like in Motor City, it's one of those things where it's you take something and you take something that's awesome, and I guess you look at it and say, how can we make it more awesome? How about a tank that shoots limos?
Yeah. Exactly.
It's like, what? A tank that shoots limos?
Exactly, but that's what I'm getting at when I say that you can get a much better product than even just back in the day. Because what we're doing these days is we like, when I say we use Flash, we don't just do quote unquote Flash animation, which is now I think the more specific term that would be used to be quote unquote puppeting. That's where where you take an existing drawing, just kind of move it around. That's what people think of when they think Flash animation. But we're also doing actual animation in Flash. It's you can do that in Flash. So what we do, especially Motor City, is we do the cars in 3D and move the characters around. If you look, like David Vandervoort and Chris Parnowski actually came up with an amazing rig for the head models that basically allow you to turn the character, in any direction, and you get a perfectly on model. That's why one of the reasons why we have these really elaborate, if you watch, almost 3D looking head acting in Motor City. It's because it's called the Facinator was the eventual application that they had that they put in Flash, but. It just lets you turn it in any direction, and you don't have to worry about the artist, because even a really talented artist, if they have draw a character 100 times, you're going to get slight variations in there, and it's going to look off model on some of them. But with this, it actually took the guesswork out of the drawing, so that the artists could focus on the actual body animation, and which they would actually, they wouldn't puppet, they would do traditionally, but in Flash, and then we would pass that along to the comp guys who would take, the 3D animation, mix it with the 2D animation, and then, throw a bunch of special effects, which generally Edward Artinian and Parker Simmons would be the ones primarily doing those. Like when you see the crazy anime style exploding, and not exploding, that's some of the exploding, but like a lot of the laser blasts and stuff, those are actually hand drawn and then given an effects pass to by like Steve Kellner and a bunch of the post guys, the comp guys there. So, and I'm leaving a fuck ton of names out, but there's obviously a whole bunch of really talented people who work really hard on those shows.
Yeah, and it shows. It really, really shows. And it's a shame that Motor City hit an early demise. Hopefully the future project, have them and look at Motor City and say, hey, look here, you guys are developing your own technology. It's like, it reminds me of George Lucas developing THX or something like that. Like you're kind of, you have this like almost structure built in, and it's like, look, we make awesome stuff. We want to make more awesome stuff. Give us money so we can make awesome
exactly
stuff.
No, it's basic. That was a very exactly like I know Chris, he was like, we could make so much better cartoons if we had this, and so they were like, well, let's have this then. And that's basically how they came up with the Fascinator. They sat down with David Vandervoort and said, how can we make sure we can keep these guys heads on model all the time so we don't have to work, and so we can handle a lot of the more subtle facial animation, have it look good, so that we can have our guys focus on. And when I say guys, I mean there were gals too. That's when I have our folks, be able to focus on the body animation and do the really big, crazy, over the top stuff that we want to do. And that's how they came up with that.
Once again, following Motor City, Chris P would put basically what they call like storyboards or the animatics for stuff before Motor City. And of course, the finished product is fantastic, but it's, it blows your mind. You really do want to get the scene like, oh my God, this character's jumping off the top of a car that's already moving and he has like a lightsaber in his hand. And it was fascinating watching. I mean, of course, I'm a little more interested in it being a quote unquote fanboy, but you see the art, you see the love, you see the passion. And of course, then you geek out when it's really on. Like, it's so awesome.
Like I said, dude, we're fanboys too. That's what we want to see. So rock on.
Of course, I got to bring it back to Megas XLR. Two of the main voices on the show, David DeLuise, who played Coop, and Clancy Brown, who is Gorath. Like Clancy Brown right now, I just found out is going to be on the show called Sleepy Hollow. It's sort of a Fox show. I think it's like the same people who are behind. Like I strike that. Well, I mean he's going to be on Sleepy Hollow, but I was about to say if the people who ran that show were from other shows, but I was wrong. But Clancy Brown. And of course, David DeLuise was on, the Wizards of Waverly Place, which, in and of itself was a juggernaut.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea if these guys would be on board if Megas XLR came back? I mean, not that I'm hoping, like Peter Cullen coming back for the Transformers movie. Do you have any indication at all, or is it just, hopefully, like,
Oh well, I mean, I'm sure if we paid them their rate, absolutely. And they had fun on the show. I mean, I still talk to Steve Bloom and Wendy Lee, and they're like in a heartbeat they'd be back. Clancy and David, they all like I talked to them for a while after, and they absolutely had it was a fun, silly show for all concerned, and they like to get to do that. I mean, Clancy does the voice of Mr. Krabs. He's actually a pretty diverse guy. David, he just really gets to enjoy being like the crazy, over the top kind of stuff that Coop would give him. So I don't think there'd be any issues there. I mean, there might be an issue in that everybody involved is 10 years older now, and they might not sound the same. But I don't know, and it's because they're voice actors, so they tend to actually be pretty consistent. You listen to Lisa in The Simpsons; she's been doing the same voice forever, so probably. But even if circumstances had changed, so what I'm getting at is, they were cool. We liked working with them, and we tried to figure out a way to get them in, even if they wouldn't work, as their original roles.
Yeah, and as Steve Bloom, the reason I brought up David DeLuise and Clancy Brown is because they also have acting gigs. Now a gentleman like Steve Bloom, who I haven't had a chance to interact with yet, but he's been very, very gracious to another podcast out here in Rochester called the Toonami Faithful. And I believe he's done at least.
Steve is actually a friend of mine. We had dinner a couple of weeks ago. Steve is actually an awesome guy and his friend and super cool.
And
Where you're going with that?
no. What I was just saying is that no, with Steve, it's. I mean, I brought up the other actors. I mean, Steve. I'm pretty sure Steve would be on board because he's a voice actor. You know, I was worrying like guys who have like other gigs acting wise. I would hope that they come back.
Well, it's my very firm opinion that quote unquote voice actors get kind of a raw deal in the industry. Certainly today, where they feel like where this big studios feel like they have to get quote unquote actors to do voice roles for their larger stuff, and it's like, no, guys, you get a guy with an interesting voice who does it professionally, and I promise you, he's gonna knock it out of the water. I mean, there's a lot of the best example I think recently was Despicable Me 2 just came out. Was it like Robert De Niro? Didn't he voice the villain role in that? And then literally like a couple of weeks before it premiered, he pulled out of the production, and they had to get a voice guy to come in and dub over his voice.
I was not aware of that.
And I mean, that's just, and still, Despicable Me that has a huge open. That my point being is when you get an actor out there, like, people don't go to cartoons for a famous person, like the voice. Like another good one was like Sinbad, which had Brad Pitt. You don't go to a movie to listen to Brad Pitt. You go to look at him. And
Angelina Jolie.
Basically, yes, exactly. When it's, I'm just these actual, these actors, and they get these huge sums of money to come in and do something, like something that voice actors get paid, that the actual voice actors get paid a fraction to do, and they frankly they hog a huge amount of the budget for a movie, and I think that that each in the production and every other department, and I love what. Now, don't get me wrong. There are actual actors out there. There's guys that do both acting and voice acting, and those are cool. And there are certain actors who have, I think, voices that are built for animation. Good example is Gilbert Gottfried. He sounds like a great parrot, But
yeah.
But I think overall, I think voice actors are kind of treated like second-class citizens in that respect, and I personally, I don't like it. I like voice acting. There's no. I'm trying to think of a good example, but think of like one of the most diverse actors you can think of out there. Like a guy does dozens of different roles, and he's not gonna. His resume doesn't touch the sheer volume of characters Tom Kenny has done. How's that?
Yeah, gotcha.
I'm just trying to get a little perspective there.
I guess touch a little bit on the personal life. You and I are friends on Facebook, and congratulations on your 20th anniversary with Bells, your partner.
Oh, thank you so much.
Because he didn't come along with you on the trip to Rochester, and I'm telling you right now, if you guys ever come back this way in town, you're more than welcome. Let's go out to dinner, let's go have some drinks. Just to, obviously, because I'm a fan of yours, and then Bells, seeing from your Facebook page, seems like a very interesting person.
Thank you so much. I thank you. Yeah, I love him to death. He's quite a character. Actually, helping to
No, I'm sorry. Because they're saying 20 years is, nowadays 20 years really is something to applaud.
Well, I really mean, it's like, okay, just to get on to talk about LGBT issues for a little bit. I mean, for the longest time, there were no role models for back in the day for gay couples being in long-term committed relationships. So we just decided we wanted to go with it, and that's one of the reasons. Talk about gay marriage for a second. Like, you're talking about how gay marriage is immoral. No, not letting them get married is the immoral part, because you want to encourage people to be in committed, loving, relationships. That's how you provide. Talk about HIV, because that's how you prevent the spread of HIV. If you want to talk about moral things, you should be talking about, like, oh, look, this actually reduces promiscuity to a level, so, hey, maybe we should be encouraging that. But they want to tell you that they don't do it all. It's like, sorry, we're here, guys. Sorry, not even sorry. Just
deal with it. Well, I mean, when you got
exactly
two people that are creating a household, when you got two people creating a household, that's good for the economy. I'm just saying, I'm surprised that other people aren't supporting it. In a weird, selfish for a different reason, but as in, it's good for the economy. The rent's going to get paid. The property tax is going to get paid. They're going to go shopping.
I hate to say it. Like, people, and this has actually cost me. There are some people out there who only feel good about themselves when they are keeping somebody else down. They are that's how they get themselves a boot. They can't boost themselves up, so they feel the need to tear somebody else down or to keep somebody else down. and they only feel good about it when they're standing on someone else's neck. That's why you see, a really good example of that is what's going on in Russia right now. They're basically giving the tacit approval for these homophobes, these bigots, to go out and beat up and humiliate them. And it's like, for what? So I don't know.
Just
I'm actually not comfortable with having this distance.
No, well, I just wanted to inform people because you had posted, and other friends of mine have posted, basically there are gay pride parades going on in Russia, and you almost see like more resistance, and it's almost like it's ignored that people are physically assaulting the people at the pride parades.
And you see the pictures, and it blows your mind that these anti-gay people coming in, and they're taking the pictures as and they're smiling, and you're like, what kind of diseased person actually, I don't know, what kind of depraved mentality enjoys that? And that's what I mean when I say some people only feel good about themselves when they're oppressing someone else. That's why this is still an issue in the 21st century. Because some people are just that petty and small. They never had any kind of personal positive empowerment, and they feel like it's a zero-sum game. So it's like, if I want to feel good about myself, you have to feel bad about yourself. And the way to do that is to knock your teeth out. Yeah,
assaulting people that they don't know, for all intents and purposes, besides obviously the ideological, have no beef with, what someone else does, if it doesn't affect your life, I can understand if
that's exactly.
Go on.
You nailed it. I mean, literally, how I live my life. Like I promise you, especially the listeners out there, their lives were no different before they found out I've been married to a guy for 20 years. And their lives are going to be no different after that fact. So it's ridiculous that people feel so strongly about it when it doesn't affect them personally.
Yeah, everything's progressing. Everything is so progressive, and with the internet, and especially the internet, I always use that the most. The world is getting more connected. I mean, literally.
I can hope. I mean, like I said, we can hope. I mean, Russia's going on right now. That's the depressing part. So we will see. Like we got to keep fighting, and you have to remain outspoken, and that's how this change occurs. When you let oppressors know that it isn't cool, and that they can't get away with it. That's the only way to actually do away with it, is to actively fight it, and not I don't know.
Well, I mean,
that applies across the board too. That's all. That's not just homophobia. That's racism. That's sexism. That's that's even fat shaming. It's like, I call somebody, you fat tub of shit. It's like, no, guy, you know what? You don't know that person. Why are you judging him based on that alone? Okay, so, it's not good for him. It's like, well, how do you know So,
there could be a million issues.
How does that affect you? And how do you know he's not trying something about it? Why do you feel the need to make him or her feel miserable about how they look? How does that affect you one way or another? Oh, you're one of those guys that only feels good if you're kicking somebody else. I see, So there's that. Like I said, there's a lot of ways to do it, and it really but basically what I'm saying is empathy is so rare these days. It should be a goddamn superpower. Being able to put yourself in the shoes of somebody else whose life you might not, share the experience with, but understand, hey, I see where you're kind of coming from, so maybe you should get a little, I shouldn't just hate on you for who you are in that sense, or make assumptions about you based on things about you that, just based on who you are. Yeah. Things you might not be able to change or don't want to change, So,
your posts on Facebook they're more predominantly of a political nature. And,
I like to rant about that on Facebook so I don't have to talk about it in person, because I keep a lot more friends that way.
Now, what if, and I'm just, what if, a project gets greenlit and there's an actor that is one of those people that is like closed-minded? And I just say actor. I mean, of course, I'm pretty sure anyone in Hollywood would be shooting themselves in the foot if they were, if they were being that.
I've had a few. No. There's a few. I'm friends with some conservatives online. Now I'm not friends with the ones that feel gay marriage should be illegal. But I mean, but it is, it's like, well, I don't agree. The ones that are like, I don't agree with homosexuality, but in that sense, it isn't for me. Mm-hmm. Absolutely unfair. But I mean, if you're talking about like Orson Scott Card and his feeling where homosexuality should be criminalized, and now he's saying he's calling for people to be tolerant of those views. Like, I think Harvey Firestein said it the best when he said, "Fuck you on your grave, sir." Intolerance of intolerance is not hypocrisy, but demanding tolerance when you will not give it to someone else is. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so entitled and ignorant and flat out it's spoiled and stupid that it's laughable. It's like, you know, I would say, that's and luckily I'm not friends in real life or otherwise with people. Like I can't in good conscience associate with people who feel it is a moral obligation to regard me or anyone as a second-class citizen. You know?
Gotcha. I totally understand.
There you go.
We've already hit the hour mark, and I don't want to overstay my welcome. Let's just bring it back to cartoons real quick. And, of course, this is just me being a snoop online. And is there anything you can tell us about either White Shadow or Prodigal? Those are the two.
No. White Shadow is a character on Turbo, and I've been animating a lot of his scenes. He's just one of the big fat snails, and Mike Bell, who is, again, he's not a voice. He's not an actor. In fact, I think he's the only non-big name in the main cast for Turbo, and he's fucking hilarious. And I was just having a lot of fun animating this big fat snail going around screaming, being silly and happy. And I was like, it'd been a rough couple. My cousin just died a couple of weeks ago, and I was just in a bad spot. And I was like, and just getting to draw somebody with that much character. Again, Mike Bell had an awesome voice talent, and just getting to hear that, it was so silly and fun. It just helped bring me back around from a really bad spot.
Gotcha.
So that's all I meant by that.
Okay, because I honestly I haven't had a chance to see Turbo yet, but I hear great things. I hear that it's basically, for the lack of a better term, a sleeper hit. You know, it's a great movie.
Worst DreamWorks opening ever. Don't let that dissuade you. It's all right. It's got. I mean, honestly, I think it's funny. It definitely has its moments, but it makes. From where I'm sitting, it makes a better 2D Netflix. They're not even that, but it makes a better 2D cartoon. Like what we're doing, I think. And I'm shooting my own horn, but I think it's kind of better than the movie because we're just having a great time with it, and these characters just lend themselves better to like the more cartoony 2D medium. So, and now to talk for a second about Prodigal, that's actually George's thing that he's working on with Nickelodeon. Has been developing the show for a while. That's all the more I can talk about it. It's his thing. I don't want to I don't want to talk about it anymore in case I spill any beans I shouldn't be.
Okay.
But yeah, it's in development with Nickelodeon. It isn't, not a series yet, but absolute good luck to him. He's doing it with. He's doing with Titmouse, and we will see where it goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, and just real quick, I mean, you also work with John Schnepp, who is part of Metalocalypse. He just recently had a Kickstarter to do a Superman movie, or a Kickstarter to do a documentary about the Superman movie that I guess would have been with.
The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, and I can't think of a better guy to head up the exploring of such a fucked up property as a man who loves mindfuck the way John Schnepp loves mindfuck. So that I was a very solid supporter of his Kickstarter, and I can't wait to see that movie when it comes out. Because I remember back in the day, I remember when they were developing that, I was thinking the same. I was like, this is going to be good. This is going to be so fucked up and crazy and bad that it can't help but be amazing, and then it just fizzled out. I was like, I guess they do want to preserve their property, but now I'm going to get to see parts of it up on later, at least bits on the big screen in some fashion. That excites me, because again, I'm a fanboy and for all the aspects of the stuff. So especially the crazier ones.
So I'm going to wrap it up. Once again, it really is an honor for me, for someone that I'm such a fan of their work, and thank you for being so gracious. This hour just flew by. Like when I checked, I was like, oh wow, we're way over the hour. Thank you. Yeah. Is there anything you want to if I guess people want to get in contact with you? Is there anything that you want to put out there before we wrap this up?
I'm usually a pretty private guy because I usually get really nervous in front of people, but I had a lot of fun with this, and you really made me feel relaxed and maybe I'll try and do some more of this in the future. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Thank you for everyone for listening to this episode. This episode is going to come out in the same week as an interview I did with John Bogdanoff. Did 85 issues of Superman, the Man of Steel, and very involved with the death of Superman. So, it's it's incredible to talk to people whose work you admire so much. And my hope, Jody, one day say, I want to work with you. You know, I want to.
Well, like, fingers crossed. Like I said, that's there's only one way to do it, and that's to start making your own stuff. It is easier now than it has ever been. Like I've got my own stuff. Currently, as you heard, I'm pretty slammed doing other people's stuff, but I've got my own things that I'm working on. So, and in the near future, you might be hearing about that, and who knows?
Okay. Hey, those DreamWorks checks
all I can
aren't going
say,
to bounce.
dude, is it doesn't happen if you don't do it, you know.
Gotcha.
So, and who better than the guys that love it? That's my whole point.
Thank you.
So, and again, and the gals. So I keep saying guys. I mean that gender neutral. The girls, like,
Yeah.
absolutely anybody can do this, and they really should.
And they should, yeah.
So,
It's
cool.
a very, like doing the podcast, you know, when there's people who say, I'm bored, and I'm like, well, you should start a podcast because this thing keeps me busy.
Well, that's okay. I know we're dragging it out now, but I mean, like, not everybody is going to succeed. Don't get me wrong. I pitched a bunch of stuff. Megas was the one that went through, so don't think of that. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Like, if you don't do it, you can't get better at it.
Gotcha.
You know, so just keep doing it, and you love it, and that's how we get to have such cool stuff out there.
Good luck, or I don't know if there's like when you say break a leg, I don't know if it's good luck. Saying good luck is bad luck, but good luck to you on all your.
Yeah, we've never figured that out for animators for what we're supposed to say for good luck. So yeah, I guess good luck just works. We've actually discussed that.
I came up with break a nib, or John came up with break a nib.
There you go. Break a nib.
All right, here we go, man. Go ahead. You want to read
Double
it?
Jackpot.
What is it?
It is a self-published book by Christopher Cologne.
Chris Cologne smells good to me.
But
Look at her. That broke that fucking cold little exterior. He's like, hee.
but it is spelled Colon.
Him punny.
But Double Jackpot is a book about a comic book artist, Eric, who is in a loveless relationship with a materialistic
I feel you, Eric.
Lynette.
Oh, fucking. Are you sure I didn't write this? Sounds hauntingly familiar.
He starts cheating on his girlfriend with a more creatively supportive woman, Nadia.
Well, I gotta meet her. Where's the Nadia?
There's your summer girlfriend.
Summer Nadia is Nadia.
Nadia?
Yeah, I think Nadia spelled with an A.
All right.
Both Lynette and Nadia play the double jackpot, the largest payout in lotto history, much like the recent Powerball. Both girls play his birth date as the winning numbers. Eric is now stuck between two of the country's richest women. Who will he choose? It's not that simple. This is a clever fucking idea,
Yeah, it
man.
is.
Look at her, fucking. She's impressed.
I am.
She got some summer reading. Christopher Cologne smells real lovely with an original idea. This is. I've never heard this before.
I haven't either. This is a self-published book, much in the indie spirit as Kev's Clerks.
Oh, you don't even need to name check me. This is just a good idea. You could stand on your own, man. You don't even have to be like, hey, remember Clerks? This is nothing like that. This is way more original than Clerks. This is a good idea, man. Why didn't I think of this?
I need something to read. This book is part of the Comic Books, Heavy Metal, Video Games Trilogy Book 2. Odd I See, A Tale from the Road, coming soon.
Right on, man. It's part of a trilogy. This is the first part.
Way to write, man.
He's seeking a literary agent. Motherfuckers, anybody out there? There ain't no literary agents listening to this show. I assure you, sure. Sure. I assure you, sure. But somebody know a literary agent? Hook a motherfucker up! Chris Cologne come up with an original idea. I should tell Raskin. That's a good fucking idea, to be honest with you. That's a fucking rom-com right there. Megan, get Raskin on the phone. Isn't it possible to get Raskin on the phone? No?
Yeah.
I want to run it past him, man. I want to, and if it happens, I get a taste, Chris Cologne. I get a whiff, if you will.
The book could also be ordered on www.lulu.com.
That's lulu.com.
I understand that. I just want to spell it out.
Normally one says it that spells it. Still, lulu.com. What is that? Do you know what it is?
I don't know. All right. The book could also be ordered on www.lulu.com. Search for Double Jackpot Christopher Cologne. A paperback version of the book is $15 and a PDF file is only $5.
$5 is
Yeah.
insanely inexpensive. 15's not even that bad for a paperback version.
No.
This is $1 million idea right here. Like a movie about a dude who fucking is stuck between two chicks, both of who play his birthday and win the lottery. Come on! I can see that trailer. Chris Cologne is on to something. Nobody else can smell it but me.
I'll read it.
Thank you. I'm going to make that smelly joke.
I know, you're trying to get me to laugh again.
It worked once. Double Jackpot is a self-published book by Chris Cologne, man. It's the first book in his comic books, heavy metal, video games trilogy. Book 2, Odd I See, A Tale from the Road, should be coming out soon. Get all the information at Chris Cologne, like a motherfucker.
I will
his
totally
book,
read this.
Double Jackpot. I'm serious. I'm going to recommend that to fucking Raskin. How is that not a movie? You know what I'm saying? This could be a sexy movie. You could do an R-rated version. There could be nudie in it, and you could show them fucking both chicks. Maybe a little penetration. Maybe a butthole shot. No butthole, no care.
I would like to formally apologize to Christopher Cologne.
No, sex sells. Chris Cologne will appreciate that. He's like, thanks for throwing a few buttholes in there, man.
Don't forget to check out twostrangersonepodcast.net, your one-stop resource for everything show-related. You can find links to subscribe to us on iTunes or on Stitcher. You could also find links to buy my book, Double Jackpot, on twostrangersonepodcast.net.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool. And fuck you, I'm out.